Welcome back. So far, we have seen examples without database. Now we will see how to connect with database, and we have defined a student object, and this object is going to represent as a student table inside the DB. So for this connecting with DB, we are going to take as a JPA with a Hibernate H2 database. That is like a in-memory and instant memory database, and that would be very helpful for quick JUnit test cases. So how are we going to achieve for connecting databases? First, we will connect with the database. For that, what we have to do is go to pom.xml and define this JPA. So JPA stands for Java Persistence API. So this one we are going to take as dependency, and this dependency we need to add in pom.xml. After that Hibernate database, that dependency is com.h2 database, and artifact id h2 we need to define. Once we are having this one, it will take some inbuilt, so it will download from online, and if we are adding this one, it will take few seconds of time to build the project. So for the during that time we need to wait till that build completes. So once we added this one, then go to your application dot properties. That will be available in application dot properties. So go here, and we need to define Spring JPA show SQL. That means when our project is running, that time it will show the SQL on the console itself. It will show what kind of SQL queries are running in the background. And for that enabling purpose, we need to use Spring h2.console.enable equal to true. If we are defining SQL, it is not going to enable. If you are enabling this only, then show SQL will appear on the screen. So these are the properties we need to mention. Next one is if we are using as a H2 DB, that is an instant DB in a browser based. So for that Spring data source URL JDBC H2 mem test DB. So we can use as a test DB. We can use, or you can define your own DB. So that one anything you can use a test DB, or else my test DB, or you can define my DB also. You can define like this my DB, and this one is a bootstrap mode is a default we need to define. So once we are ensuring pom.xml JPA entry those dependency and h2 artifact h2 database and artifact h2, these two dependencies, and application dot properties if you are ensuring, then your program is going to connect with the DB. So whether connection is formed or not, how are you going to see means, you can run the program and you can verify, you will be able to see. And for that you need to verify the console. You can see in the console I am maximizing the console, and you can see connection is forming or not. Yes, here if you can see H2 console available at H2 console database available. So that means H2 database is available, and H2 means a Hibernate. So Hibernate ORM common annotations. So JPA with H2 is now it is connected. Now I am stopping, and whether this is connected or not, how are we going to verify means, because we have defined here H2 console. So here H2DB. So for that we have a connection like H2 console. We have to write H2 console. If you can try, this one will appear. So this is a browser based DB. This is a in memory database, and it is very instant database, and this space would be opened when you run the server. If you stop the server, this browser, this database will be stopped only. So what I have given is my DB, and you can test whether the test connection is formed or not. Then you can verify it will be connected. Here if you see left hand side, there is no database, there is no table is defined. Now we have defined a student table. So how we are going to define that student table? Let us verify. So for that we need to stop this server. Then I am going to define student. So this is a student with respect to JPA and Hibernate. It would be treated as an entity. So as per the JPA, the student, every object will be represented as an entity. So for that we need to define entity. So that respective entity we need to import javax dot persistence, and this private we need to define as a primary key. So id we need to define, and I am defining as id. And these are the three parameters I am going to insert in the db. And in addition to that, I don't want to define one value. So that one, what I will take, transient private integer my value. I am taking as my value, and transient we have to define javax dot persistence, and here we need to define setter getter for this. Setter getter for this. Yes, my value I am defining setter getter. So it will generate setter getter. Now entity defined, primary key value defined, transient is defined. Now if I run this in this console itself in application dot properties, so SQL we have defined. So we will be seeing the table will be created. If you run this application, table will be created while running of the application itself. That is the beauty of the Hibernate. Hibernate default it will create the table. So we can see, I will maximize the console, and we can see because of show SQL we'll be able to see table is created or not. See, drop table if exist, then it is creating the table. Here see, so because of SQL it is showing this primary key is ID. Now if you go and verify or else refresh this page, you will get table is here left hand side. And since that page is refreshed, because that is earlier session, now we will verify test connection is successful, and go and inside and see table is created. And with this we can insert the table, we can insert the values also, that we will see in the next session. So this is how database we are going to use. For that JPA H2 database we are using. This is an instant database, and whenever server is running, that time only it will be running. If you stop the server, it would be exited. So here student will be treated as an entity, so object will be acted as a table. So, and if you see the properties, whatever we defined, ID, student address, student name, these are the values will be defined in the table. So here we do not have any values. In this we do not have any values. For that we will see in the next program. If we run this program also, we will not get any values because we did not define any values. This is how we are going to connect with the JPA with the H2 database. Till then, thank you.